It's not good. Even people, I remember I had a friend in high school, and she told me, I don't know if it was even for spiritual reasons totally, but she told me I'm not going to have sex with my boyfriend because everybody I know that's done it, that's ruined their relationship. Because it totally robs the relationship of other good things that should be in it at that time. And so it'll take your best strength away. It saps what is good out of you. It will, and that's like for any kind of sexual immorality. It takes your best strength. Number 5, it will bring regret. It will bring regret, and I feel like I've already covered that. Proverbs 5:11 says, "At the end of your life, you will groan when your flesh and your body are spent." And it was in the context, she was still talking about the same topic. And so that's not how we want to end. The Bible says that Moses, when he was old, that his eyes weren't dim, that he still had a twinkle in his eye. And it might even indicate that he was still like vivacious, seriously. But that's the opposite. It says, in this, is at the end of your life, you'll groan and say, "Oh, how I hated discipline and how I spurned correction." That's what it says. And then another thing that will bring is shame. And you guys, if you have engaged in any of this, then you know that. So anyway, now let's turn and let's say how to stay free from this, okay? Let's talk about that. Hopefully this will help. This is more for you, like if you're not in a relationship, but you might be in a relationship at some point in your life, and if you're currently in a relationship, these are some things that might help you to stay outside of sexual immorality and protect your purity. And so, the first thing to do if you want to stay free is to decide that your purity is worth fighting for. Decide that it really does mean something to save yourself. Now, maybe you've already had sex. Well, let's start tonight. And let's say what you have now until you get married, that's something that you can offer your spouse. That's something that only belongs to your spouse. It only belongs to them. And so it's something, if you've given it away already, you can start tonight and say, I'm going to save it now. I'm going to do it now and place value on it. There's a story in the Bible where David, he had sons. One of his sons' name was Absalom, and one of them was named Ammon or something like that. And Amnon was his name. And then they had a sister, or it was a half-sister, and her name was Tamar. And the Bible says that Amnon loved Tamar, and he wanted her. And so he spent all this time trying to devise this scheme how he could take advantage of her. And so what the Bible says is that he ended up getting her in his room. He pretended that he was sick and got her to make some bread for him. She came into his room and he forced himself on her. And she's like, "No, please don't do this. Please, this will shame me forever. I will be so disgraced." And she said, "Why don't we just go to David and I can become your wife?" Her purity mattered so much to her that she said, "Listen, I'll marry you if you won't violate my virginity." And the daughters of David, they actually had something. It was a dress or something that showed that they were pure. And he didn't listen to her. He violated her. And it's weird because it says after he raped her that he hated her even more than he loved her. And it's funny how even sexual sin sometimes will do that you will end up despising someone because you'll begin to blame them for what you feel. It's just not a good recipe. It's just like I talked about. It's like a fire. It's destructive when it's out of control, but it's good when it's in the right context, which is marriage. But anyway, the Bible says that Tamar came outside the house and she stayed beating on the door because she was trying to rectify her being soiled and ruined by him. And then the Bible says that she ripped that thing that showed that she was a virgin, and she went to live with her brother Absalom for 3 years. she lived in disgrace, and just like I said, she threw ashes on her head. And you might say, whoa, girl, why overreact? But that, to me, is a great example of the kind of value that you ought to place. Now, hers was violated, but you guys can place that kind of value on your own body. You know, and I heard this said before, and I don't know, that there's just something that kind of impacted me, is that, you know, about a prostitute, well, at least a prostitute gets money for it. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, we are just way too quick to give it away. Maybe they even value their bodies more than some of us. So the first thing we should do is say, okay, this is something that's worth saving. It's something that's good and something we want to hold on to. So if you want to stay free, decide that your purity is worth fighting for. Ron Luce said this: if you want to be a free man, you're going to have to learn to fight. And that's just the way it is. Number 2, how to stay free, is you have to learn and realize that there's a process in learning